Welcome to Practice Makes Purpose, the podcast where we connect with JMU Nursing alumni who are making a difference in healthcare and beyond. I'm your host, Caitlin Billman. Today's episode is a very special one. We're honoring the incredible career and legacy of Dr. Jeannie Corey, a beloved professor here at James Madison University who just retired this month. While Dr. Corey isn't a JMU alum, her impact on our nursing program and on generations of students has been profound. With a career spanning clinical leadership, interprofessional education, and academic mentorship, she shaped not only the future of nursing, but the lives of so many who have had the privilege to learn from her. In this conversation, we'll reflect on her journey, the lessons she's learned, and the legacy that she's left behind. Whether you're a student, an alum, or someone who's just been inspired by a great teacher, this episode is for you. Let's dive in. All right, Dr. Corey, well, thank you so much for joining us. I am really excited to be able to talk to you. I know we've rescheduled several times, but it's exciting that we finally get to sit down and have this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's jump right in. So your career has taken you from bedside nursing to academic leadership. Looking back, what moments stand out as the most defining or transformative for you?
Well, thank you for that question. Well, first of all, I've been a nurse for a very long time. So there are many moments. There are many times throughout my career. I've been a nurse for nearly 44 years. So many different times. And they're related to specific areas. Like my transformative times have been either related to my education or roles that I've held, or most importantly, the people that I've worked with and that have believed in me. So one of the first ones I can think back to when I was a young associate degree nurse, and one of my instructors believed in me beyond my imagination. Her name is Linda Rickabaugh. She believed in me, and she ended up being a lifetime mentor and friend. And actually, I ultimately ended up working with her at one of my organizations for several years before she retired. So she was one of the first people that believed in me. It was transformative because she believed that I had something that was worth pursuing from an educational perspective. She took me with her to UVA when she finished her master's, and she took me with her on that trip, just took a special interest in me. And that was transformative because it gave me insight as to what advancing my education beyond my associate degree would be like. So she was one transitioning point. Another was when I transitioned from cardiac surgery ICU bedside nurse to a leadership role. And when I was pretty young to be young and inexperienced to moving into that. But I had amazing mentors that ultimately became lifetime friends. And those are people to name. Cindy Smith is one who's been a dear lifetime friend of mine. And then Dr. Kathy Jennings. They were folks who believed in me as well and helped me develop leadership skills when I moved from bedside nursing to leadership. And then moving from organizational leadership to full-time academia. That was another major transitioning point in my life. And it occurred at the same time I was getting my doctorate. So I moved from operational leadership into academics, and that was a good timing. That worked out. And then when I accepted a role at JMU to lead the DNP program, that was an opportunity to influence the Doctor of Nursing practice educational world and engage in efforts that impacted the future of nursing at the national and ultimately at the international levels. So those are multiple points, about one every decade or so. Have that I attribute to what helped me define, or the things that were defining or transformative for me.
That's awesome. So then what kind of inspired you to transition from those clinical roles to academia and leadership?
Actually, there were probably two areas there as well. One is the people who believed in me. That always seems to come up first, the people that believed in me, and then my educational journey. Both of those things encouraged me in different ways to go from from clinical roles into academia and leadership. And I've been most inspired by the people that were before me, the brave leaders that ask the questions that nobody else wants to ask, those kinds of things. And then the I've had many mentors. I named a couple of them already, but those people, they believed in me. I think I already said that, even though I didn't believe in myself. They saw something in me. And then my educational experiences led me to have endless curiosity. I'm a curious human by nature,
Yeah.
but every time I continued my education, I had more questions rather than answers. And so it just encouraged me to keep on moving into the academic world.
It's awesome. It's really nice to have those impactful teachers and mentors to be able to be like, I see something in you. Let's cultivate it. I've had many of those in my life, so it's awesome that you've had those to kind of push you forward.
Yeah. I've been fortunate. I've been very fortunate.
Awesome. Well, you've held roles at institutions like Jefferson College, Virginia Tech, Carilion, and now JMU. How have those environments shaped your approach to teaching and mentoring?
Well, first of all, I've been very fortunate to be a part of those organizations. And my approach to teaching and mentoring has always been relationship centered. And each of those institutions has allowed me to develop that relationship centered approach further every time I've transitioned between organizations. Um, one of the things that has encouraged that relationship centeredness is my work in interprofessional education and practice. And so I've been fortunate to not only just work with nurses in my career, I've worked with medical students, physician assistants, social workers, respiratory, I mean, all different areas of leadership and clinical individuals. So I've been very fortunate with there. And at Jefferson College is where I learned the nuts and bolts of how to be an educator. That's where I learned about curriculum development, curriculum evaluation, those kinds of things. Then at Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine, I was part of an innovative team that developed the interprofessional leadership curriculum that went on to be a model of medical education and continues to this day to be further developed and talked about across the country when people are developing medical schools. And then that particular experience also sparked my interest in my ability, or my interest in scholarship and my ability to research educational practices as well as mentoring. And then at JMU, that further supported the development of my scholarship, where I focused on DNP educational norms. So from there, that's evolved into faculty coaching and mentoring, and how when as faculty, when we mentor and coach our students, how does that impact their experience? So
It's awesome. Yeah, it's nice that, no matter where you've been, it's like cultivating those relationships is so important. And so to have an environment that encourages that is so awesome.
yes, I've been blessed.
So what has kept you passionate about nursing education over the years?
I tend to be a passionate person by nature. So I have, when I think back about why I became a nurse and moving into all the different roles I've had, the what's kept me the most passionate about nursing education is my students. So every day they inspire me to be a better me, to do better, to learn more, to ask more questions every day. And the things that fuel my passion, in addition to my students, are involvement in professional organizations, which I've been fortunate to be a part of many throughout the years, collaborating with colleagues from across the country. Again, I've been very fortunate to meet people across the country and experience what they experience through our relationships and our scholarship together. Engaging in health policy is another thing that has fueled my passion in nursing education, and just making the world a better place for people who will follow me. That's it. And implementing, one of the things that really got me going several years ago was implementing a national DMP think tank that relates to all those other things I've already mentioned, but that ultimately led into a national DMP conversation webinar series that continues to fuel my passion, because it continues to connect me to people who know a lot about DMP education and who want it to continue to get better.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's really cool. So, what do you hope your students take away from your courses beyond that clinical knowledge?
This is sort of an emotional question to me,
Mm-hmm.
for me. And I actually wrote down a couple things to make sure I said what I wanted to say. So I hope
Yeah.
they learn the importance of
Yeah.
believing in themselves
Yeah.
and being open to possibilities that they may have never considered.
Mm-hmm.
For example, take me back 44 years when I started nursing. I had no idea I would be in academia doing scholarship at the level publishing, helping other people become the best they could be. At that point in time, when I started my career, I saw myself as a bedside clinician for my life because
Mm-hmm.
I loved that as well. And I loved
Yeah.
teaching new nurses how to become nurses in those units because I worked in critical care. So,
Right.
um, so anyway, those are, I hope that people believe in themselves and see things beyond maybe what they've expected to happen
Mm-hmm.
to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then a quote that I heard not too long ago, but it really fits with what I hope students take away from my courses, is that having a good attitude, even when you have no reason to, is one of the greatest skills in life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a quote kind of person. I like quotes
Yeah.
like that. And I do hope that in my courses, regardless of what the subject is, what the content is, what the situations are, is that that's one of the things that they take away is their positive attitude, learning to present themselves in a positive professional manner is one of the greatest skills they'll ever possess. And then the last thing is I hope they gain insight into critical thinking and problem solving,
Mm-hmm.
recognizing that everyone's perspective is important. And there are typically in academics, especially, there's usually more than one way to solve a problem. When
Yeah.
you're in a clinical setting, maybe not, there may be a right and a wrong, but when you're in an academic setting, or if you're in a leadership position, there are typically multiple ways to solve a problem. And
Yeah.
so allowing yourself to see that
Mm-hmm.
and be open to other possibilities is critical to be
Awesome.
successful.
Awesome. Well, do you have a story about a student or maybe a group of students who really made an impression on you?
Yeah, I have two. I have
Okay.
lots of stories. Again, for having done this for years, I have lots of stories. I
I
have
bet.
two sort of categories that come to mind.
Okay.
The first one is that, I mean, I've been impressed by so many amazing students throughout my career, but I'll just share the two. So the first one is the students that I've been honored to work with that struggled in their graduate education. May not be a typical kind of answer, but
Mm-hmm.
the students that have struggled have, for a variety of reasons, either graduate school didn't come easy to them, their life handed them something during their graduate education that was difficult, but they have impressed me with their determination, their resilience, their attitudes, their determination, and they ultimately are so very grateful for their graduate education.
Hmm.
They have a different level of appreciation for what they were able to achieve. So
Yeah.
that's the one group, the people that struggle, or one of my
Mm-hmm.
groups. The other one is the group of students that's really sort of opposite to that, which are the people who are simply exceptional in every single way.
Mm-hmm.
They're just amazing role models. They're curious. They're inquisitive. They're intelligent. I mean, all our students are intelligent, but
Yeah.
this group just sort of rises to the occasion. And the most recent example of this is the group of students I have right now
Mm-hmm.
that are my final students as I prepare to retire. And I
Mm-hmm.
get emotional. They're my Fab Five.
Oh.
That's what I call them. And they'll be graduating in December this year. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you just a little example of why I think they're so phenomenal and why they really have made an impression on me. The first, I'll give you a list of sort of what their projects are about, and
Perfect.
it just gives you an example of why they're just so amazing. There's an organization-wide quality improvement initiative to improve glycemic control in a hospital, and then there's a project that's decreasing no-show rates in a federally qualified health clinic. There's a student who worked on a health policy analysis regarding the decriminalization of unintentional nursing error.
Mm.
There's another, and then the last student I'll mention is they did a national awareness campaign for aortic health in the Black community.
Wow.
So far-reaching projects
Yeah.
that go much beyond just a day-to-day unit or even organization. They go beyond that, and so I've been honored and impressed of being able to work with them in my final semester.
That's so
And
awesome.
we will see their work for years to come.
Yeah.
We'll see the impact of their work. Yeah.
Yeah. It must be kind of cool, like you're retiring in December and these students are also graduating December. So it's like you're both like completing your journeys at JMU together. I think that's really special.
Yes, that was my intention when I,
Yeah.
retiring in the middle of the year is not always typical when you're in academia, but
Right.
in working with Dr. Eaton, it was a reasonable time for me to make that
Yeah.
shift because I'm able to finish with these amazing students. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. That's incredible. So how has nursing education evolved since you first started teaching, and like what changes have you welcomed and what challenges have you seen? That's like a three-part question.
That's a loaded question. Well, nursing education has changed a lot since I've been a nurse. So if you go back 40 some years, and then since I've been in education, which is about the second half of my career, it's continued to change. It probably changed more rapidly in the second half of my career than it did in the first. But graduate education has been where my focus has been since I've been in academia. And in
Right.
graduate education, of course, there's been a tremendous growth in advanced practice nursing. And so that's changed the way that we create programs and curriculum. The doctor of nursing practice has been become more common as a terminal degree, and it's expected for certain advanced practice roles.
Right.
And then more accreditation standards, and then more online, hybrid, or flexible programs. Of course, that wasn't around even 20 years ago very much, not like it is now. And
Yeah.
then, of course, those programs are focused on improving work-life balance, recruiting students that are not able to be on campus because many or the majority of our graduate students work full time. So we had to adjust to that. Curriculum focused on topics that maybe not were there 10, 20 years ago, things like quality improvement, informatics, population health policy, leadership, collaboration, interprofessionalism. But a major challenge, because that was part of the question, is what are some of the challenges that we experience? We have to adapt, and we have to
Right.
adapt quickly.
Yeah.
And for a couple reasons. One is to maintain our student interest in our programs, because if all the programs across the country are offering completely online or those kinds of, then we can't be the only programs that don't do that. So that's one. But we did an amazing job of adapting during the pandemic. That still lulls in the back of all our heads.
Yeah.
But as soon as the pandemic was behind us, in education, many of our practices returned, many of our expectations, our policies, our traditions, we reverted back to the old ways. And nurse educators in general are getting older, and it's harder to recruit nurse educators. And we've got to embrace and implement innovative ways of doing things. We've got to let go of the way it's always been done. We have to be creative, and we have to redesign and deconstruct. That's not a word that you hear real often. You usually hear construct, build kind of thing. But my
Yeah.
belief is that in nursing education, we have to be creative innovators, and we have to deconstruct in order to build better. So those are my
Yeah.
challenges. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you've worked in project management, research, and administrative leadership. How did these experiences influence your work in academia?
Well, all of those things have influenced me equally, but mostly by allowing me to develop my communication, my leadership, and my analytical skills. So that's sort of a short answer, but
Yeah.
all of those experiences led me to improve my communication, leadership abilities, and skills, and analytical skills.
No, that's great. So what are the biggest lessons you've learned about leading teams in healthcare and in education?
I have a two-sided answer to that to start with.
Okay.
Leading teams in any setting can bring great joy. It can also bring a little frustration
Yeah.
depending on your situations. My leadership preference or my style, what I hope that I have been able to demonstrate, is servant leadership. And actually, my doctoral project many years ago was on servant leadership. And there's a quote I want to share by Dr. Robert Greenleaf. Sums up one of the biggest lessons I have ever learned related to leading teams and leadership in general. It says the first and most important choice of a leader that a leader makes is the choice to serve. Without which one's capacity to lead is severely limited. So basically what that says, if you don't have a servant leader mindset, then your ability to lead is limited.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so working with others to create shared mental models and goals is foundational for successful teams. And then when leaders are trusted and respected and act with integrity, people will follow them wherever they go, even if the leader doesn't even know where they're going. So
That's
I
awesome.
heard that many, many years ago at a
Yeah.
leadership conference, and it has always stuck with me. You don't always have to know where you're going as a leader, but if people believe in you, respect you, and see that you act with integrity, they'll follow you anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then just another thought about leading teams and leadership is that, I really hope that we continue to move in healthcare and in nursing and in the world to move away from things like authoritative and dictatorial kinds of leadership structures. And nursing, we've struggled with that through the years just because, there are some times when you have to be authoritative when there's a crisis from a
Yeah.
clinical perspective. But in
Yeah.
academia, my hope is that we continue to create a culture that moves away from fear and distrust and those type of things that many people have experienced, not
Yeah.
necessarily at JMU, but in other places. And we create a sense of being valued
Yeah.
and not dispensable.
Yeah. That's awesome. I really like that quote. I'm going to use that.
I love that. That's one of my favorites. I've had that quote in my list of quotes for probably 35 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Long time.
So you've been involved in the process improvement and interprofessional education. What innovations or initiatives are you most proud of?
First of all, my students' projects. The student projects that I've been able to facilitate at JMU, I've been so grateful for them. They've impacted population health, professional practice, access to care, organizational processes, and ultimately locally, regionally, nationally, and several have done international projects. So I'm really proud of that work that I've been able to be a small part of to help
Yeah.
the students do that.
Yeah.
I'm proud, I mentioned before, I'm proud of the National Think Tank
Yeah.
initiative that I was able to create that led to the national webinar series called National DMP Conversations. I'm very proud of that. That is a space for faculty, students, and practicing DMPs to come together in a non-judgmental area and talk about the issues that are before us and what can we do to become better in
Yeah.
that world of DMP education and practice. And then regarding interprofessional education, I'm probably most proud of originally with my interprofessional work with Jefferson College of Health Sciences and Virginia Tech Caroon School of Medicine in developing that curriculum that I mentioned, the interprofessional curriculum, and then interprofessional research and dissemination of our work across the country. And then at JMU, I'm most proud of related to interprofessional work is the being a part of the College of Health and Behavioral Studies IPE and IDE Council. That was an amazing experience for several years. I was grateful to represent nursing in that endeavor, and then
Yeah.
leading the development and the implementation of the interprofessional graduate health policy certificate that we started back in January. So those are things I'm really proud of.
That's so cool. That's really great. So as you prepare to retire, what are you most proud of about your time at JMU? I know you mentioned a bunch of things, but any other things that you're just really proud of that stands out from working here at JMU?
I think I mentioned these things, but of course, my students, I say that every time. And then being able to represent JMU at a national level in DMP education, to being involved in that, and then being
Yeah.
part of the journey at JMU that helped move the university to R2 status. Because by graduating increasing numbers of DMP students, we were a major factor in that equation for
Awesome.
the university.
Yeah.
And then I already mentioned too, just proud of that graduate health policy certificate that we were able to get that going in our admitting students.
Yeah.
And we have several students that have already finished. So grateful.
That is so cool. So what's next for you after retirement? Whatever, you have any plans or passions or projects that you're really excited about?
That's a great question. I get asked that all the time now
Yeah.
because I have transitioned previously, retired from a previous employer, then came to JMU for now going on 9 years, and it's like, oh, what
Uh-huh.
are you gonna do next? You know.
Yeah.
So I am retiring from my full-time employment at JMU, but I'm not retiring from the profession of nursing.
Okay.
At this point, not just yet, but I plan to continue to remain engaged in the organizations that I'm fortunate to be a part of. I just was recently inducted as a fellow in the American Academy of Nursing, which I'm so honored and blessed to have reached that level of recognition, but I
Yeah.
will be involved in that organization. I'll also remain involved in the Association for Leadership Science and Nursing, which I have found, and I've been a part of this organization in the last 6 years. So it was sort of late in my career coming into my life, but it is a phenomenal organization that I would encourage anyone who's interested in leadership in nursing to please be a
Yeah.
part of that group. And
Yeah.
then also the state and national American Nurses Association and Virginia Nurses Association. I continue to be involved in those, and I also will be continuing my research with colleagues from University of Texas in Houston. One of my dearest friends has come to me through the whole DMP education world, and that's Dr. Linda Rosell. And she has taught me more than I could have ever imagined, learning about qualitative research and working collaboratively to improve coaching and mentoring for our doctoral students. And then continue working with my Fab Five to get their
Yeah.
projects published. That's
Yeah.
on our list. And then I volunteer in my community with our free clinic doing grant writing and also leadership development. And then January is already going to be busy for me because my oldest daughter is having my first grandchild, and my
Yay.
youngest daughter will be graduating from nursing school, will be joining the nursing profession. So, and then the last thing on my list of what I'm going to do is I'm actually I'm writing a book with one of my dear friends about our mothers' lives. Our
Oh.
mothers were best friends since they were 7 years old,
Oh.
and and they've both passed, and we're going to tell their story because it's a
Oh.
beautiful story.
I love that so much. I being a journalist by education and by trade, I love telling stories. It's where where this podcast project came from.
Right.
So I would absolutely love to read that whenever you're finished,
Okay,
because
good.
I love hearing about people's stories. So that
And
is
my
just
dear friend for life, my mom's best friend's daughter, who we've been
mhm,
remained dear friends our entire lives as
mhm,
well. And she is a phenomenal writer. She started
awesome.
doing the writing, and I just am so, it was beautiful. She read a couple of her first pages to me
Hmm.
recently, and it was beautiful. So I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to doing something
yeah,
totally different. Yeah.
yeah. That's really incredible. It sounds like it's going to be a busy but very rewarding next chapter that you're going to be stepping into.
Yes.
Um, so you've worked in many parts of Virginia. What has it meant to you to serve communities across the Commonwealth?
I've been fortunate. I think I've used that phrase a number of times. I've been very fortunate and to have served across Virginia in various clinical leadership and academic roles. But when I reflect back, I'm probably most grateful and humbled by the opportunities I had to care for patients and their families early in my career. Um, and then ultimately, in the latter part, I'm grateful for the opportunity to impact future leaders in
Mm,
healthcare.
awesome. And if you could go back and give your younger self, one piece of advice when you're starting out in your nursing career, what would it be?
I struggled with this question
Yeah.
because I've been doing this a long time, so I got
Yeah.
lots of things. But probably if I could give my younger self one piece of advice, it would be to get involved in nursing organizations from day one
Hmm.
of becoming an RN. And recognizing that your level of engagement in those organizations will change and vary depending on what season of life you're in,
Yeah.
but being a part of our profession means more than just doing your job every day.
Wow.
And so being able to influence the future of nursing, in my opinion, would be every new nurse would benefit from jumping right in right
Hmm.
from the beginning.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and as we kind of wrap up, my final question that I've been asking everyone is, if you could leave one message to any students that are listening, what would that be?
Well, you've been talking to me enough now. You know I can't just say one thing. I have
Yeah.
to say a couple.
That's okay.
I have to say a couple, but they're
That's
just little
okay.
snippets. Just
Yeah.
little snippets. But the first one is to always remember what an honor and privilege it is to be a part of people's lives at their most vulnerable moments.
Hmm.
And what a special gift that is. So enjoy the
Yeah.
journey. I feel myself getting emotional. So
Yeah.
that's one. So
Yeah.
enjoy the journey and realize what a privilege and honor it is to be in those places with other humans.
Yeah.
And then we need nurses to lead and speak up and engage in the work of our communities and in healthcare organizations and in our government. We
Yeah.
need nurses to speak up.
Yeah.
And you're never just a nurse. And if I had to pick one of my comments, that's probably the one I would say, the one piece of advice: you're never just a nurse.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, that's a phrase that many people hear in different professions. You know, I'm just a nurse. You're
Yeah.
never just a nurse.
Yeah.
Um, you can change the future. Your voice matters. And as an old nurse or a nurse moving on the other end, I believe in you. I
Yeah.
believe in the nurses of the future.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation. It's been cool to hear about your career, and I am so glad, even though we've only really worked together for a short amount of time, I'm very grateful to be able to have worked with you here. You're just an incredible person, and I know that your students, and you've left a lasting impact on students and faculty and staff here, so I hope you know that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, dear.
From all of us here in the School of Nursing, we'd like to extend our heartfelt thanks to Dr. Corey for her 8 years of dedicated service, mentorship, and leadership. Her contributions have left a lasting impact on our students, faculty, staff, and the broader nursing community. As she steps away from her position here at JMU, we celebrate her legacy and wish her all the best in this next chapter. And if you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're a JMU Nursing alum with a story to share or know someone who is, please reach out. We would love to hear from you. I've included ways to get in contact with us in the description. Every nurse has a story. Thanks for listening to this one today. See you next time.